Welcome back, everybody, to the Hearthstone Global Games. We just saw Norway take out Japan, and now we move on to South Korea versus Portugal. My name's Dan Gaskin, and I'm joined with Lorinda again. Hi, mate.
Hi, how's it going? You said again really angrily there, dude.
Unfortunately, I do have to just put up with you, but we can talk about Hearthstone, so it's okay.
That sounds good to me. A nice afternoon, evening, or morning of Hearthstone, as you introduced it earlier.
Yeah, it feels a lot better. So, South Korea versus Portugal then, Neil. Initial feelings for you, because I was just looking through the South Korea roster, looking at their achievements, their accolades. I mean, that is a dominant force.
They've been to one or two decent events, I believe, in their time. Portugal also very good, but yeah, Korea top of the group, and I think they're Ravens' choice for the tournament, so that gives us all good cause to cheer for Portugal.
Yeah, a win for South Korea will put them at 4-1, and that would guarantee them through. I'm trying to work out a way there's even a possibility of them not getting through at 3-2, but I think they're just about there. Not quite.
That's how I feel about the last night.
But they're just about there. There's a few scores here and there that could go their way. For Portugal, however, they're currently 1-2. So not a fantastic position, but if they're able to move up to 2-2, then they're looking in an all-right spot as we look at some of these players. As I said, South Korea stacked. Kranich, handsome guy, Fleury, and Dida Honyi. These guys, absolutely incredible players.
Yeah, Ginger, Ignite, Syriza, and Dr. Boom. Dr. Boom, obviously, pretty good because he's 7-7 with 2 friends. But Ginger, an incredibly confident player, told us he was 100% going to win his first match, and they won. And they haven't won one since.
Yeah, they want to get back on that win train. Ginger, the captain, of course, and the anchor. He wants to make sure that his team are doing a little bit better and try and get back into this group, because at the moment 1 and 2 is not where they want to be. But just having a handsome guy on your team for South Korea, I mean, the fact that he was top 12 at Worlds in 2016, he won the Asia Summer, he won the Asia Spring. This guy's been all over the Asia Pacific Championships, and having him on your team just to lead the charge is always going to be a great.
Yeah, the only player on their team who hasn't been to the World Championships, I believe, is Fleury.
Yeah.
And Fleury would have been to the World Championships if he beat Yolsik in the semi-final, because he'd have played Handsome Guy in the final, who was already qualified. So Fleury was one game away and let the whole side down a bit, to be honest.
Yeah, and all of the championships, I mean, they've all got amazing accolades. I think Kranich was top 8 of Worlds 2015, so he was up there as well. But let's take a look at the classes, what all these players are going to be bringing. Then it is a best-of-5 format, but all 9 classes are brought by both teams. And if it ends up being 2-2, we move on into the ace match, which is where that 9th class can be used instead of one that has already been used previously in the game. And first up is going to be Fleury versus Syriza.
Yeah, Fleury versus Syriza, and we're seeing Paladin paired with Mage, which means one of those decks will not, one of those classes even, will not get to be played.
Unless it gets played in the ace match, I guess.
Unless it gets played in the ace match later, which it probably will, because, hey, it's Warlock. Warlock hate day.
Warlock hate day.
Just getting a beating today.
So a Druid, a possibility. We might see like another Druid versus Mage matchup potentially, which is always a good one to watch. But Mage in general, I think I've really enjoyed watching them grow over the past couple of weeks. They seem to have got at that solid spot now where we have, what, 3 solid Mage decks. We've got Secret Mage, we've got Freeze Mage, and we've got the Discover Mage. That's where we're at.
And people are still taking bits and pieces in and out of them. So those are the 3 we talk about, and I think there's more to come. I do genuinely feel that although the meta has stabilized to some degree, I mean, there's a crab in every deck. When that can change a little bit, and actually it's going to be Druid versus Mage. Yeah, it's just the other way around, right?
Yeah, just the other way around. Sorry for that technical hitch, but Mage for Portugal then, and it is going to be the Druid for Fleury of South Korea. So we will have that matchup. If it is the Jade Druid then against the Mage, you'd like to think that's going to be a relatively decent matchup. However, it's the aggro one that can struggle against Discover Mage. I am just leaning towards what the decks are in terms of popularity and what I think is going to be played, but realistically, they could be bringing anything here because of the blind pick situation.
Yeah, Druid again. Druid's probably been the class that's been the most stable for the most long, even though it's stable in 2 different deck archetypes. We haven't seen Jade Druid change at all, other than the addition of the Curator to some people, maybe a Kodo here and there. And the aggro build is basically Murlocs or don't you, and maybe add an extra bitter type, but they haven't changed that much over the last few weeks.
I'm wondering whether Jade Druid will ever see it kind of leave, apart from when
you sound so bitter-tied.
when the rotation eventually comes around and Jades do disappear. However, when we get the next set of expansion, is there going to be anything that's going to buff up that Jade Druid? Because it's already in such a good spot, one of the best control decks that there is. I'm scared. Honestly, I'm a little bit worried. If there's even just one card that can improve that deck, then Jade Druid's just going to explode.
I mean, Jade Druid is basically the continuation of the old combo Druid, which just got, as it got nerfed, Jade came around to have a bit of a play around. As long as you've got Innovate and Wild Growth, I think that Druid in some sort of explosive format is going to be around for a long time.
A long, long time. Match 1 then, as you can see, Druid versus Mage. It is Syriza versus Flurry. I mean, you said Flurry hasn't made the World Championships, but he did come top 4 of the Asia Pacific.
Right, if he wins that game, he gets the World Championships. But the rest of his team have been there. He's just like, how bad can you be?
Do you reckon they hold that against him?
I would.
Do you reckon there's just that ongoing banter of, oh, remember that time we were all at the Worlds? Oh, sorry, Flurry.
Yeah, it was so good. They actually haven't been together so much. But yeah, sorry, Flurry. Just
sorry, mate.
What do you think of BlizzCon, Flurry?
Maybe next time he'll make it.
Maybe he'll get
to be fair.
Through here.
Yeah, exactly. If South Korea can keep up their dominant performance, then maybe we'll see them get to the finals of the global games. But here we go, match number 1 then. Portugal versus South Korea. Can South Korea secure their spot in the second phase and kind of put Portugal in a nasty spot at 1 and 3? Or will we see the opposite happen? Will we see Portugal start to claw their way back?
Well, if this opening hand setup is anything to go by, you've got to fancy South Korea to have a good opening game here with what looks almost certainly to be Jade Druid versus...
You said that with so much uncertainty.
I certainly saw the Doomsayer, which is not a staple card, so it'll be interesting to see what has been taken out for that against the Discover Mage.
Yeah, the Doomsayer is a really interesting inclusion. Obviously, you know why it's there.
Right.
It's there to be teched against aggro. It's there to just help with those games where you can struggle with the aggro just spiraling out of control. And if they were facing aggro, Doomsayer into Tar Creeper, pretty good.
Yeah, seems interesting. Like Tar Creeper and the Ooze are 2 of the cards that can come out for Kodos. But, so they're not the cards that come out for Doomsayer. You just take your deck completely against aggressive stuff.
Job's done.
Apparently the job's done.
I mean, realistically, this Doomsayer is going to get very little value. I imagine they'll... It depends, actually, if they do play it on turn 2. They may not play it on turn 2, but I guess if you don't play it on turn 2, when are you going to play it?
So, yeah, that's a good question. You quite often leave the Doomsayer until the turn before they can definitely kill it. Sometimes against Pirates, for instance, that is just the first turn you can play it because they can always just War Axe or buff things. In this situation, the reason to play the Doomsayer would be to guarantee you're the first one to put something on the board with your Tar Creeper the turn after. But Tar Creeper's not particularly menacing, so yeah, they're going to wait and maybe try and snipe a top-decked Mana Worm or maybe an Arcanologist.
Or a Babbling Book.
Or a Babbling Book.
Not really that much value, though, is there? Getting rid of a 1/1.
Not really, no, but it does play into your Jade Spirit on 4, which is a little bit better than setting up just your Tar Creeper.
Do you just play Tar Creeper rather than Doomsayer, though, in that situation?
You probably do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you
This
do.
Doomsayer could just sit in the hand for quite a while, to be honest.
Yeah, maybe one of those cards that ends up just healing you for 7 when your opponent overwhelms you, but the Mage doesn't really do it that way. Yeah, it's pretty much a dead card in this matchup, I think.
So Tar Creeper will be a solid play, followed by Jade Spirit, followed by more things like Wrath is a good way of clearing if we do see a Mana Worm come down.
Right. You also got Fandral Wrath for turn 6 is a pattern that people will be looking to set up. And we may see them just delay that, so we'll see what they have on turn 5. One of the reasons that Kodo sneaks into these decks, other than the Curator, is just so you've got something to do on turn 5 in Druid, which has always been an interesting spot. Druid has had loads of 5-drops in the past, and then suddenly they just all vanish completely. And that can cause you a little bit of a problem.
So now if we were watching Jade Druid versus Freeze Mage, I'd be saying, well, this is Jade's match. This is going to be a Druid matchup that's going to be very comfortable because of Earthen Scales, because of Feral Rage. Against the Discover Mage, I guess that somewhat is still apparent. However, the fact that Medivh exists and you can build up a board that actually the Druid struggles to get rid of, they have a board presence plus that burn damage, which can get through the sheer armor gain.
Yeah, that's a very good point. Basically, the reason Discover Mage is so popular is because it's like Freeze Mage that can be a bit aggressive. And so everybody's happy, apart from George C., who's never happy. That's where we might see the Doomsayer come into play. South Korea just taking their time this turn to set up the future world. And maybe the Doomsayer will be used to clear up something later on, like Medivh.
Yeah.
It doesn't kill the Medivh, it just, you know, chills and makes you save 7.
The important factor, I guess, which South Korea will be happy about is the fact that Portugal haven't been able to get that early game.
Right.
They don't have to worry about the mana worms. There hasn't been a secret plus Medivh's Valet. They're not dealing with the abundance of 2/3s that just end up on the board from Discover Mage sometimes.
Yeah, they're now basically playing against Freeze Mage with a little bit extra.
Yeah.
Especially, as you say, with this Doomsayer, with the Yogg-Saron capable of doing a lot of damage between them on terms of the enemy's board, they have to play it almost as if it's Freeze Mage now. Not quite, obviously, but near enough.
I hadn't even touched on Yogg-Saron. I was just going to let it sit there, wait until it became apparent, and then just be like, boom, here it is. Here's going to make a big impact yet again.
You don't think people will have noticed it's there?
I think they would have noticed, viewers would have noticed, South Korea would have noticed, but will Portugal know it's there? Probably not.
Oh.
They'll consider it, especially if they watched the game earlier, where Yogg made an appearance in Jade Druid.
Yeah, he tried to do a good job.
He
They
did.
didn't play quite hard enough, though, did they?
No.
Ice block there for the setup now, as is a Meteor. I don't think you really want to Meteor this bunch of, like, ragtail things, though, when you know that later on there might be 15/15s that can get Meteored.
Thankfully, they've been able to get value as well with Medivh's Valet from the secret there. And suddenly, the board that South Korea were building up has just dissipated very quickly.
Might not... So what turn would you want to play the Doomsayer? Which minion do you want to stop coming down? Medivh, right? You want to play it going into the turn where they're about to play Medivh. On an empty board, obviously.
I think Fandral plus Wrath is too tempting here not to do.
So if the Mage manages to keep clearing stuff up, as that turns out to be the Spellbender, obviously, which is going to die. But if the Mage does succeed in clearing up the board, at some point the Doomsayer will come down, prevent of Medivh. But with Jade Blossom, Jade Behemoth, there's quite a way to go yet before Portugal have got control of this table. Table,
that's old school.
Very old school. Very, very old school.
And now this is the worry for the Jade Druid. The board has been regained by the Discover Mage. They have burn potential in their hand. They have clear in their hand. And they put themselves in a good spot. That's how they win this game. They win this game by having the burn in the hand while still having board threats.
Discussion here whether they want to cycle the Wrath or just take the free hit. Obviously 3 damage from Wrath can be useful against Medivh. Combine it with a swipe, you actually kill him off. But obviously also when your hand is a little bit mediocre like it is right now, just cycling the Wrath can also have tremendous value. You can also Jade Blossom and just Yogg next turn, but that doesn't seem very likely because you hardly cast any spells.
No, that Yogg's going to be there for when, potentially after Medivh has been played, after the spells have been played, your back's against the wall, you've got no other option. It's your panic button, it's your trigger button.
What, like this?
Yeah, you just slap it down and hope for the best.
That sounds like a technical term for playing really well.
It is, that's how you play Yogg. That's how it's successful. The harder you put Yogg on the board, the better the spells are. True story.
Right. I'll try that next time. Punch a hole through my actual table.
You'll
probably.
never play Yogg.
Why not?
Because it's just against everything you know.
Alright, here it might be time for Doomsayer just because it's going into the Medivh turn now, and honestly this Doomsayer is just never going to have value if it doesn't have it now. The problem if you do that is do you Jade Blossom and kind of force them to do it, and if you do that, what do you do the next turn? Do you then have to Yogg on an empty board? That's not as good as it was before. The whole thing with Yogg on an empty board previously was you drew a load of cards, but now it just blows itself up with the multitude of spells available.
Yeah, so it looks like they're going to choose to cycle. Try and draw some form of answer.
That works.
I mean, it does deal with the Kodo, but what are you doing following? I guess deal with the Kodo and then play Doomsayer?
You could do that. Don't mind it. Obviously, you've got to be very careful when Feral Raging because you are costing yourself 8 armor. But it does seem like reasonable. But they're just going to fight the board with their blossoms and stuff by the look of it.
I'm wondering how far into the Jades South Korea are going to be able to get. Because they're struggling to get them up there, to be honest. We're just at, what, a 4-4 at the moment? If they don't draw any more Jade generation, then Portugal will be in a comfortable spot.
They do go for this player, yeah, they will. And I'm wondering what's been dropped for this Doomsayer as well. Primordial Drake, I doubt.
Have we seen both Wraths?
Yeah.
So not Wrath being dropped either.
Possibly the Gluttonous Ooze would be one. But that would be a shame because Medivh.
Yeah, maybe dropping Gluttonous Ooze. I imagine they keep both Earthen Scales.
Yeah, maybe only one Auctioneer. That seems unlikely as well. And
That's more Jade Generation, at least. That sounds like a song that should be.
Jade Generation.
Jade Generation, yeah.
That our group, or is it a song?
It sounds like a boy band of some sort.
Caster band.
Caster band. Let's make it happen.
We could do this.
Wait, what
did I just say? Yeah.
Finally, the early game being drawn from Portugal then.
Earthen Scales and Feral Rage playing around the Freeze Mage strategy. That's something like 14 armor waiting to happen, which means if they do get an Alexstrasza in the face, they are just instantly back into the real world.
So they may be tempted here to use one of these fireballs just to take the 5/5 off the board, keep the mana worm alive. Plenty of damage in this hand now, Neil. I mean, we're looking at what? 22 from hand?
Yep, 22 from hand, not counting pings. And that means that, I mean, they can't do it in one go, obviously. You have to do it over 2 or 3 turns, which is why the Feral Rage is so handy, kept back. It's interesting. Innovate into Aya seems really powerful here, even though you waste a mana. You can even considering not wasting the mana by Earthen Scaling, but you should wait. You should wait until the Alexstrasza happens.
If Alexstrasza happens.
If Alexstrasza happens. Yeah, they may just have to use it in a moment to stop themselves from dying, because a Pyroblast of Face is kind of the equivalent of that.
Yeah, I mean, Portugal in a good spot where they could just send a sheer amount of damage to the face, try and put this on a 2-turn lethal. If they think Earthen Scales isn't in the hand.
Yeah, Firelands Portal is obviously a really nice looking play onto the 6/6 with a ping, buffing up the Mana Worm. And then you're challenging the Io. It's up to you whether you want to go in there or not and give them a 7/7. And this is where playing against Jade Druid just gets so out of hand.
It's where it gets awkward. At one point, you just need to flat out ignore what's on the board and
Yes.
hope that you've got enough damage. I mean, Portugal can look at this 2 ways. They can say we can try and fight it. We can use our spells to try and gain board presence.
Right.
Or we can look at the fact that we have, what, 16, 22, 29 damage in hand. Let's just try and burn them now and see if we can kill them across a few turns.
Right, and this isn't just a hopeful play. This is a play of say, you know, you've got to have a decent chunk here of health gain. And obviously this Mana Worm is going to add a lot to that. That's where they're going with it. And so Feral Rage or Earthen Scales would be enough for a little while, but it's only the double whammy of the two that's actually going to make this really bad news for Portugal.
It is. Yeah, that's going to be quite a lot of armor gain. It's going to be, what, 15 armor to be precise if they do put it on the 6/6 rather than Aya.
And that 15 matches the 15 in Portugal's hand. The hero powers cancel, so Portugal need at least another fireball to take control of this situation. And that's before Korea find any more of their armor gain.
And they could make it 16 as well if they trade in Aya first and put it on the 7/7 instead.
Sure.
So it depends how much they value.
Yeah, I don't think we'll see them miss any armor. They know that Portugal are ready. It's go time for Portugal. And so Korea do need to recognize that and get every last piece. They won't miss a single hero power from now till the end of the game unless they Yogg. And even then it might be Innovate Hero Power Yogg.
So Portugal pulled the trigger. They said, well, we wanted to get the damage now. Suddenly Alexstrasza is just a pointless card. Aggressively, can only be used defensively. But there is another card to find some more burn damage. Primordial Glyph.
Yeah, Primordial Glyph could get them some damage. There's not as much damage as people seem to feel when you get a Glyph. There's only 3 of the 31 spells pull out 4 damage or more. But that doesn't account for like Greater Arcane Missiles for some reason. So a couple of missiles options as well. But in guaranteed damage, there is only a 27% chance.
Wow. And if they go down the route of we are just ignoring these Jades, and if they perhaps put a Firelands Portal to face as well, I mean, you do have the risk of summoning something like Corrupted Healbot, which can just gain more health for your opponent as well. So you do have to calculate all of these risks. You need to be well aware of the amount of damage you can pull out.
Ice Barrier will buy them a turn somewhere down the line. And actually summoning the Tundra Rhino has changed the equation slightly, at least. It's 2 extra damage required. Or done, even, not required. You don't require the damage that's already been done.
So Portugal's game plan is apparent. They now just need to hope and pray. I don't think we'll see Yogg even be played for South Korea. They don't need to now. The fact they can just generate 1 extra armor each turn as well is very significant.
So testing here first to see what the secret is, because they had the chance to proc the block if it was something weird, like Mirror Entity. They could have done it. They knew almost certainly it was Barrier. But now they've set it up for next turn, so they don't have to mess around. They've just got this board. Keeping the 2/8/8s, which can't be flame striked for block procking purposes. Of course, it will proc the block on 8 if they do it that way. But yeah, now they can mess around and proc it on a much lower number. But they're in danger of dying. They don't know that actually they're fine. And they're going to look for some more healing. There is indeed the auctioneer we were talking about.
They're worried. They're saying that isn't an Earthen Scales and we're only on 7.
Have we seen either Fireball?
We've definitely seen one. I'm trying to think about whether we've seen 2.
I think we've seen one.
We've 100% seen
We've seen at least one Glyph. We've seen Pyro. I think we've seen both Frostbolts.
One Fireball was used to remove a minion. I think one may have gone face. So
we've only seen one Firelands.
Yep, one Firelands.
But that's not enough.
We've seen both Frostbolts. They're gone.
There's a pretty big looking deck over there. Let's see what Portugal pick up.
Oh, that's a Glyph. Glyph into Pyroblast. Win the game. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. Nope. Not there.
They've got Frost Nova and Ice Barrier, which would beat everything but Swipe from where they're sat. Or they can take Counterspell and die. So that doesn't work. So Frost Nova to defend against the minion threat. And then Ice Barrier to stop your face getting hit by their face. And then you get swiped. And that'll be GG, and it'll be 1-0 to Korea.
So Portugal getting it close despite, what was it, 16 armor gained from South Korea. We are now going to see this swipe coming out. They may just innovate first or Earthen Scales first just to test for Counterspell or whatever. It doesn't really matter the order they do it in, to be honest. They can just flat out win this game.
Yeah, they're just testing for everything, like making sure that nothing silly happens. Nothing silly happens. And now they're just expecting possibly the second block. That's why we're going to see them not just do it all the obvious way. Because if they swipe and it's block... So if they go face with their face and gain 8 health, then the swipe doesn't work. And if they swipe and it's blocked, then the swipe doesn't work. They're just going to make sure they get this right, because bad accidents could happen here.
Yeah, so you Earthen Scales, and then in this case you swipe anyway, right? Because
I feel so.
You're not punished if it's a block, so you just swipe it.
Yeah, and Portugal said, you're going to get there.
You're wasting too much time. Let us finish it for you. Stop thinking. The game's over. That's what Portugal said. That's not me saying it.
Are you sure?
I'm not that aggressive. I'm a very calm and collected young man.
Even without your fidget spinner?
Why would you bring that up again? Just when I was forgetting and thinking that we could be friends.
We can. We can work on this. We've got some more weeks together yet.
All right, second game of the series then. It's going to be Portugal, unfortunately, going 1-0 down to South Korea, and it's Portugal who need to be winning these games. South Korea are the ones who are in the driving seat, and it's going to be Priest versus Shaman, the Priest for Greenwich, and the Shaman for Ginger Neil.
Ginger Neil. I thought you were the ginger one, Dan.
You wish. You wished you were Ginger Neil. You wish you were here like me with my...
Orange.
My gorgeous red hair.
It is very, very well presented hair, I must admit. At least I've still got some, I guess. That's all I should be thankful for.
That is a positive. It is good. Maybe it'll start going grey soon. Oh, no, wait.
Start.
It already is.
I hate you so much.
Shaman versus Priest. So an exciting matchup. We saw it once already today. I believe, actually, we had the... Was it Dragon Priest?
Playing Silence Priest? Or was that
I think we saw Dragon Priest versus the Evolved Shaman, potentially. But maybe my mind is playing tricks on me. Either way, it's going to be Greenwich versus Ginger. The chance for Portugal to try and get back into this, or our South Korea is going to start running away with it. Shaman in general, it seems like today everyone's been liking the Jade Shaman. I'm not entirely surprised after last week Muzzy making it pretty popular.
Yeah, it seems that people do indeed learn from people who win events. Who knew?
Who'd have thunk it?
How strange that happens, huh? The Priest is still... just doesn't seem to have settled down yet. You still see a lot of dragons, still see a lot of silence, and occasionally you just see some sort of control mashup with Lyra. So Priest not quite ready yet.
No, and again, judging by the laws of probability, we'll probably have Dragon Priest because Falcone's not here and he really wants to cast Dragon Priest.
Yeah, I mean, that's
so there we go!
So many times. Hey, and again.
He's actually never going to cast Dragon Priest.
He always just appears and starts like...
I just saw a little tantrum stomp from Falcone.
Tantrum stomped. Right.
Shame. Anyway, Dragon Priest then, against most likely the Jade Shaman that has grown in popularity over the last week. I guess this answers the question that I asked you at the start of the broadcast, where I said, has the meta finally settled? And the fact that someone can just pull out a deck like Jade Shaman and make it work, and then everyone starts playing it, that shifts the meta again.
Yeah, I think the meta is moving around still a great deal. Like I said, I think we're in this little lull right now, but at the moment I think it's okay. What do you keep here if you're Kranich? You keep a Twilight Drake because it's a dragon and it's good. You keep a potion because you're scared of tokens. Nope. You just throw it all away.
I liked keeping a dragon, just sheerly for the fact of Nether's White Historian. I guess it's not as apparent as it was originally because you don't have the Twilight Whelps anymore. You don't have that worry of trying to get that one drop on the board. Instead, he's rewarded for his mulligan anyway because the operative coming off the top.
Coming through.
Yeah, the operative is coming through. Is opting not to coin out the Historian then. I don't think you needed to. Now he can just play it on turn 2 and still have that coin to work with on turn 4 is probably going to be very apparent.
Priest of the Feast, not a card we see all of the time now. We see it quite a bit in Dragon Priest. I think it's fairly staple. Absolutely insane against Mage, for instance, but doesn't get a whole lot done against Shaman.
Another operative as well. This game has the potential to get very messy all over the place with discovering opposition cards here, there, and everywhere. It's very difficult with all the discover mechanics, with all the stealing your opposition cards, to try and track what you're playing against, trying to judge what you're playing around.
Yeah, somebody in these teams is usually assigned to, okay, that is a card that's been in their hand for 3 turns that they got from a Draconic Operative, and it's their job to just keep reminding the team what's going on in those situations. Because obviously if it's been there for a while, you can read quite a lot into that. But at the moment, just setting up. But later on, that would definitely be a huge factor to make sure the teams can track what's happening. Yeah,
you need to have someone who just sits back and says, wait, how many possibilities do we need to consider? I mean, usually there are too many possibilities to consider, but you need to think about what are the immediate threats, what are the biggest worries, what can really change things and smash things the wrong way.
Yeah, and when you're stealing Shaman cards, then you're quite often in a really good spot. If you discover a Hex card and that ilk, removal cards, often, if you're not awake as the opposition, you just walk into your own methods of winning, which is kind of upsetting.
Yeah.
I hate it when that happens.
I guess the good thing about the operative is at least you can have some sort of an idea about what your opponent's going to be getting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, at least you can pretty much predict what they're getting.
Curious Glimmer is just yet another card to start searching as well. So a lot of stealing ability for this Dragon Priest. An interesting inclusion, to be honest.
That's a difficult decision.
Right, here we go, Neil. Which one is it?
Well, it's not a Discover effect, so we can't take the Totemic Might even if I wanted to. Well, there's a Jade Clause in the opposing hand. I'll tell you what, casting with that card is quite easy, isn't it?
It is a little bit. Spirit Clause also just, I mean, isn't played anymore. Rip. Rest in
I mean,
pieces.
there's just a Jade Clause in Jesus.
Don't tell everyone.
Oh. But yeah, Spirit Clause, that card that we all loved so long ago, was horribly, horribly nerfed out of existence. Actually, people just kept playing it.
People did for a while. It was quite strange, actually. But the unpredictability from South Korea puts them in a relatively good spot right now. They have a lot to work with. Hand is pretty full too.
And both of these teams are not worried about winning the immediate board. They're worried about winning it in 2 or 3 turns time when they get their heavy hitters into play. And that's why that Sogoth is there, of course, as well. Just chosen for that moment. In fact, taking the Sogoth is important because it just shows how late game Portugal feel this is going to go.
This is a very interesting deck. A lot of interesting inclusions. I mean, the Glimmer Root was already one that kind of perked my senses, but now Song Stealer as well.
Well, which normally goes into the Silence Priest. It's not. I mean, Silence is interesting. We're playing a lot of cards now that buff and such like, and everyone's still in, oh no, Owl got nerfed mode, even though that was a long, long time ago. And so Silence just, I think Silence Priest is leading the way and reminding us, hang on, silencing things is a thing we can do. We're seeing Spellbreaker now turn up in Pirate Warrior as well. People just starting to remember, okay, they nerfed it for this reason, but now we kind of need these cards.
You know, 5-mana 5/5 isn't bad either.
Right.
I mean, it's, if you think about how apparent, well, Spirit Echo was in Jade Shaman, it can be well, in control Shaman, should I say. Certainly reason to put silencers in your deck.
He is indeed coming through. Manatide Totem or Jade Lightning, the two realistic choices.
I think you just take Jade Lightning as a potential burst damage possibility. Right. We spoke about this earlier. We said how Dragon Priest in general struggles with burst damage, with damage from hand.
Right.
That surprise factor may help them out later on. Or it just be used as removal.
Just makes it really easy to play around when your opponents know, I'm on 1. I'm fine unless I've got Holy Nova. I'll just chill. But yeah, a little bit of burst never hurt any priests.
Unfortunately, no other dragons, so they can't get this operative onto the board and get any value out of it at the moment. Maybe forced to try to throw away a card that perhaps they didn't really want to. You could Priest of the Feast plus Power Word Shield if you would like.
Yeah, and I don't think the Priest of the Feast #1 is particularly relevant in this matchup. Your second one might be if it gets a bit close at the end, but to start off with, I think having a 3/8 plus digging for something that you can actually play, like get a dragon, is far more important right now. And that's actually drawn the Hex.
Wow.
Which is a big deal because there's going to be a lot of things later on that are quite irritating to deal with.
So Portugal, clearly, their game plan, they really want this board. They don't want to allow it to get out of control whatsoever. They were saying, okay, if you're forced on turn 5, is that all you can do? Then we're going to put you in an even stickier situation for the next turn.
And this is where Hearthstone is getting hard. I keep saying about these big hand sizes. Got to deal with that Manatide. That's how you lose this game, by leaving that up there. That's for sure. And you've already got 2 choices of that. You can silence it, or you can paint it, or you can Jade Lightning it. That's 2 in anybody's book.
So I think you start off by Shadowwood painting the Manatide then.
Okay.
Is that the definite?
No.
No?
But it seems the best use of your mana, to be fair. And then, yeah, this Jade Claw sets up to tidy up some pieces. Means you have to keep your Northshire Cleric and just do nothing for a turn.
Yeah, it's not the easiest of turns. It didn't look pretty, but there wasn't much of a threat from Portugal either, so it was just a case of doing what they can. Really hoping for a dragon, to be honest, South Korea now.
Yeah, Korea are going to try and force this Northshire to get as many cards as possible to get into that dragon so the Draconic can get its value. On the other side, really, Portugal are just busy trying to make this thing from below cheaper, and they're keeping on presenting a board that's just annoying enough for South Korea to want to remove, but that you wouldn't ever Dragonfire Potion in your wildest dreams.
No, definitely not.
And I have some pretty wild Dragonfire Potion dreams.
Yeah, I imagine you do, Neil. I imagine they're all over the place. But you're completely right. You don't want to be wasting a Dragonfire Potion. Even if there is a Dragonfire Potion in it, I mean, there are so many Tekken cards that I've seen so far from South Korea. I'm wondering what's left. What has been removed for them?
And this is basically a dragon if they want it now.
It is, yes. They can shove one into their hand by discovering it first. They do have Shadowwood Pain to deal with Jinyu if they would like as well. So still answers coming out from both sides at the moment. Not entirely surprised, to be honest.
Lots of answers, not many questions.
Exactly.
Primordial Drake looks good against an opponent that makes 0-2s. Alex Straza, of course, really nice for that chunky burst damage, but actually probably just gets hexed.
It does, but we have already seen one hex.
Mm-hmm.
But I think you're right. Primordial Drake is a very good way of dealing with the pesky totems, but it looks like South Korea, they want to get on the aggressive. Or perhaps
just another 15 health later, or 14 health later on, yeah.
If this goes all the way, if this goes down to the wire, healing themselves up might be very significant.
And it does look like this game isn't going anywhere anytime soon.
Oh, no.
So having that option for much later on is important. And do they play the Northshire Cleric? I think they'll keep it back again just because you don't want to expose it, but
I agree.
I can see why you might play it.
No, I think you wait. You wait until you can get some guaranteed card draw from it. That was a lesson I learned a long time ago in Hearthstone.
What's that?
You wait until you get guaranteed value from it.
From Northshire Cleric?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's the same as some people playing it on turn 1. Sometimes you just don't need to. Sometimes you can wait. You be a little bit patient.
Being patient.
Yeah, playing the patient game.
Alright. Power Shield, is it a must? Actually surprisingly hard to deal with this. Maybe they're just going to drop the Draconid Operative now.
So looking for answers always works. I mean, the alternative, you Jade Lightning.
The numbers don't look nice, do they?
They don't.
I like my numbers, but these numbers, they're not numbering it for me.
Yeah, so Operative seems like a best option. Spirit Echo. Okay, so I was talking about Spirit Echo, then it is being included.
Spirit Echoing a Draconic Operative seems reasonable. As the Spirit Echoing quite a few of these things, actually.
Do you take the Devolve now you've seen the Spirit Echo?
Oh, sneaky. Yeah, so you've got a choice to either further your own plan or interfere with your opponent's plan. Which is better? I guess it depends if you think you're the favourite or not. I think the Spirit Echo's just got to be really tempting here. They're kind of running out of things to do in their hand for the time being. And getting a second Operative might be really tempting. Do you play it? With a Nether Spite and an Operative? I think you do.
Yep. I mean, the fact is that you might be able to pick up a Devolve from your next Operative anyway. Why not play it now? This is very much a value-based game. Both teams trying to find as much value as possible from what they play.
Yeah, and that Spirit Echo is like draw 4 cards, but one of them's a Nether Spite. One of them's a 1/3, but it's draw 3 other cards.
Let's discover more answers to the very little questions that are currently being asked. Yeah. Is basically the situation they're in.
So the one thing that Korea need to be aware of here is the Jades. The Jades are not really much of a threat in Jade Shaman at the moment. They're more of a defensive thing where, you know, a 3/3 is a nice bonus for your card, but it's not going to destroy anyone anytime soon. But this game's not ending anytime soon, so these Jades could easily reach 5/5, 6/6, and then they become an issue.
Portugal opting to use their Devolve there as well, Neil, to make sure that the Operative didn't get its value from the Spirit Echo. So actually, in the end, all they got was another Historian. Was it worth it? Should they take in the Devolve?
They knew there was at least one Devolve not in the hand.
That's true.
So they probably made that read that maybe there's a good chance that neither of them are.
I liked the Devolve pick. I agreed with the Spirit Echo pick because of the value. If there wasn't a Devolve in the opposition hand, it would have been incredible. But unfortunately, Portugal put themselves in a better position. Now they're starting to build up this board.
But, in fairness, this Twilight Drake is going to be difficult to deal with as there's no Hex. Also, in fairness, this Sogoth is going to be very hard to deal with in a couple of turns' time. And by a couple, maybe next turn. Like, if next turn is Sogoth and Thing from Below, how do Korea even start to answer that?
Can you silence it with the Song Stealer?
Yes.
You can, can't you? Because yes, it can't be targeted from hand, but right. You could silence it.
So you could silence it and then death it.
Yeah.
But that's kind of convoluted. And I don't think that Portugal will expect the Song Stealer. I might be wrong. It may be a tech that I didn't see, but it is a card that crops up from time to time for sure.
It does crop up here and there. It's very much a tech decision. It's not something that is an automatic inclusion in Dragon Priest, that's for sure.
Shadow Visions, maybe saved for an Elise later.
Yeah, that's a good shout.
Try and get 3 packs. They're definitely...
If there's an Elise. I mean, we're seeing all these different cards popping up here, there. Something had to make way. Maybe Elise was one of those.
Maybe. I don't think so. I think she's... If you're going to play this grindy deck, I think you keep the Elise in there. And then start making packs happen.
Packs do help. We saw it earlier, actually. Dragon Priest won the game earlier today in the first series because of Elise.
Megasaurs.
Yep.
Totems.
Exactly.
Worked nicely.
Going to get as much value out of Maelstrom whilst they can because of the spell damage, but not opting to play Sogoth just yet, Neil. Instead, they're just building up a nuisance of a board that South Korea at the moment don't really have an answer to. We haven't seen any of those Dragonfire potions, if there are any. I mean, it's all ifs and buts at the moment.
Yep, ifs and buts. That's a phrase that I've heard before somewhere today. You may have missed it. Difficult decision here because I know that a Primordial Drake will just blow this board out, but the Twilight Drake is just so capable of taking over the game that they decided to get rid of it. And I think that Ginger and Portugal are aware that South Korea don't really have much going on at the moment.
So Historian first, perhaps, here. And see if you can find any sort of answers. I mean, you could Historian into a Primordial Drake, which would be really nice. And actually, they did choose to take Alexstrasza over the Drake earlier on.
Right. Which is an interesting choice. We'll get to see how they're intending to use that as the game unfolds. So yeah, Historian, and see what you're offered, because then it opens up your hand to actually be able to play your other dragons as well. Because you might just want an 8/8 in a minute. I have to get rid of this 5-1 somehow. An 8-8 might just be something you want to put on the board for the sake of it.
But you wouldn't be able to do it after this turn.
No, not on the same turn.
You mean next turn, yeah.
Yeah, you find a way to deal with a 5-1 over the next 2 or 3 turns even. Draconic Operative just to keep the value engine ticking away. But do you play it given it's going to get hit by a 5-1? Oh, never mind.
There's a way to deal with the 5-1, but do you prefer the Spirit Echo? Nah, okay.
They've had that one happen once. I prefer the Spirit Echo because the chances are the Devolve #2 isn't in the opponent's hand, because you saw it in the previous offering, but South Korea didn't want to get bitten by the same thing twice, and so just clearing up the board, protecting the 5-6 they have, that's almost like a Spirit Echo anyway, by just protecting the one on the board.
Yeah, they saw that as the biggest value play, and I can agree with it. Just keeping the board pressure up. Fiery Bat is big as well. Just extra damage that can be forced onto these annoying little minions.
It feels like Portugal are waiting for their Spirit Echo, especially with Sogoth in hand, and South Korea are waiting for an Elise, if there is one, which I suspect there is. And until that happens, both times, yeah, it looked for a moment like Portugal were going to get through everything, but now both teams are just feeling their way. And the pick of the Hex is going to mean that that goes on for even longer.
Portugal opting not to go with the Jade Spirit here, not do anything actually.
Right, they're playing the hugely long game with the Spirit Echoes now. They want to get this Jade Spirit Echoed? If they pick up Spirit Echo before they pick up another Jade, they would regret playing this Jade.
Yeah, that's for sure. And you saw them hovering over Hex as well, and they said, well, we're letting them play onto, what, a free board. However, we do have a Hex to kind of get us back into it if it's something significant. It does open up South Korea to say, we fancy this as an Alexstrasza turn.
I agree. And they don't. I think make it Alexstrasza and then next turn maybe Bookworm, any taunts that are in the way. But this is also a surprisingly menacing board. Well, not menacing, it's sort of tickling.
Wait.
Annoying.
Tickling and menacing are so worlds apart, Neil.
This depends.
There is a lot of in-between tickling and menacing.
All right. You think that.
I will.
Think what you like.
We do come from different generations, so perhaps our thought of menacing is slightly different.
Your generation's 25 years.
Yeah, you were probably around.
How old are you?
I'm 25.
All right. I'll pick on you next year.
Great, okay. There's that Drake that we were so worried about a little bit earlier on.
Yeah, this menacing-looking Drake.
For goodness sake. You were probably around when Dennis the Menace was first invented.
What, with Nasher?
Yeah.
The Bash Street Kids. I have no idea what you're talking about.
So this menacing Drake then, is it worth it? I mean, I'm trying to think the optimal decision here for South Korea. So
It doesn't seem great, right?
They've got Alexstrasza to face, plus they can just do damage if they would so like. I think you trade because you've already seen Spirit Echo.
What do you trade into? You take the 2 free kills? I guess you do.
Yeah.
Yeah, like you say, gets the Spirit Echo nonsense out of the way as well. Leaves them with a 4-4, which isn't the easiest amount of damage to do from hand for Shaman, with no spell damage either. Yeah, you just take out the 2 minions here. You're not getting this last 9 through easily, oddly enough.
No, and they
like, that was your burst.
Yeah, they did pick up 1 Jade Lightning earlier, but they've already used it as well. Still keeping that Cleric back as well. Not worried about getting any value from it. I mean, to be honest, they might even be thinking about Fatigue being a possibility here, so they might not be wanting to draw cards.
That's interesting, actually. It'd be interesting to see how many cards each player has. But in the absence of that information, we can wait till it gets down to a pack of 6 and they will know for sure. But nobody's dying anytime soon. Look at the healing in the hand from Portugal. Worst case, they can still slam a Sogoth on the board, although that would turn out to be a bit of a disaster with the silence in hand.
We might see something like Hex plus Lightning Storm plus Jade Claws this turn, to be honest.
Seems the most likely. It would clear basically everything up.
Yeah.
In fact, it would clear everything up.
Would clear everything up, yeah.
And leave a 4-1. So that seems good.
Leave a 4-1 and put a 5-5 onto the board as well.
Portugal showing incredible patience all the way through this game. And so have Korea. Both played for the long game. This Sogoth was picked up, what, turn 3, turn 2?
Oh, a long time ago.
Stonehill on curve at the start of the game. They are indeed going to go with your play. Assuming they Jade Claws. Yeah.
Feels like it was picked up a generation ago.
That many years, huh? 4-1, a 5-5, of course, and the 1-1 totem.
I was going to say, wow, Push to Madness, that helps deal with the 4-1, but they did already have the Drake.
Yeah, I'm just trying to work out if there's anything they can do even better now, but there's not. 12 damage to face just looks like 1,000,000 right now.
So you could... I think you save the Shadow Visions if you are thinking about Elise, because that could be game-winning for you. So in that sense, your option here is just Drake and heal up.
Is there any more weapons? Like, do you just have to play the Ooze or get no value from it ever if you play it now?
We've seen both Jade Claws, haven't we?
Right. So that might just be a case of, you know what, this is it. Ooze now or never.
So you could Ooze plus Potion of Madness then and save the Drake back.
And the 3-3 actually running into the 5-5 with Drake in hand isn't that bad.
They want something a little bit bigger though. They'd rather have a 4-8 on board.
Yeah, well, it trades. It looks nice. You've got 7 attack trading into 8 health. Seems decent.
There's the Spirit Echo. It's not time. Oh, it could be time to trigger it now. They could just go for Jinyu and Thing from Below and Spirit Echo if they want to pull the trigger now.
Yeah, I think they might do that. They will be scared of a Dragonfire Potion, of course. I think they're more than scared. I think they're terrified of Dragonfire Potion right now. So we won't see them play the second thing or the thing later, I don't think.
Quaking in their boots.
Maybe they just play the Soggoth and say, if you can deal with it, so be it. If you can't, then next turn we go crazy. But 7 mana is probably a good reason not to do that.
Yeah, unfortunately overloaded because of last turn, so can't play the Soggoth just yet. As you said, it might have been a very different turn seeing the Spirit Echo if they could have played Soggoth. But now they might just have to say, this is our chance. We play what we can with Spirit Echo. This is where we're going to get our most value and also be able to compete with the board.
Right, here comes the Thing from Below. That seems to imply the Spirit Echo. They're not healing up the minion, they're healing their own face. A little bit wary of what's going on around these parts right now. Spirit Echo comes in, and they get back a 5-5 for next turn. Alright.
No dragon to activate Bookworm. So Jinyu will sit there nice and tidy. This Cabal Songstealer is actually going to get a lot of value out of it.
Really is.
I think do you get rid of the Thing from Below? What are you more scared about? A 5-5 that's free, or are you worried about that 6 health being put onto your...
How do they envisage their win happening? Like, I think they envisage their win happening by getting 2 Ungoro packs and just spamming the board with mediocre minions. That seems to be how it usually goes.
So you start this turn, yeah, with Cleric, you heal up, and you look for alternatives.
Yes.
Make sure you look down every avenue of play before you start considering anything else. There she is. There's that win condition.
But you don't play her until you come to Shadow Visions on the same turn, because you don't want to draw that pack in the meantime. Huh? Alright.
I mean, you can play Shadow Visions.
Yeah, I mean, the chance of drawing the pack is like 1 in 10 or something, so you're just going to play the Shadow Visions now anyway, and not mind this board.
There he is.
There's a pack.
Pack number 1.
There is a Dragonfire Potion, by the way,
Yeah,
somewhere in the darkest depths of Ungoro.
And because of the fact that there is a taunt in the way, maybe they're thinking the Thing from Below won't get its value if they choose to make a value trade rather than putting Jinyu and your Jade Claws into the 4-5 and then going the 5-5 into the 5-5.
Right, and the amount of value they're thinking is like, okay, so we would have stopped 1 card, and by doing this, we've got 5 cards.
Yep.
Not quite, but nearly.
They're still thinking that they win the race.
What a race it is. It's like a marathon race.
I mean, it is at the moment. I mean, we said that from the get-go, that it was going to be just value-based and they were going to be back and forth, trying to get tempo here, there, see who could stay on the board for the longest. We've seen swings, we've seen AoE that's been able to get both teams back into it when we thought they were a little bit down and out, to be honest.
Yeah, at one point it really did look like Portugal just about had enough going on, but since then Korea have been in the ascendancy for some time. But this Stonehill defender created Soggoth on turn 3, and that is why you have to play your Shadow Visions if you can.
So now what do they... So they could Songstealer the Thing from Below if they don't want to give the Thing from Below away. Alternatively, they could... Oh, anything of significance there. Evolving Spore, adapt your minions, Fireproof Phoenix, Ironhide.
That's a pretty
poor pack.
looking pack, isn't it?
Luckily, they've got another one.
Luckily, they've got another one.
Yeah, Clutch Method
Another
that's
100 gold
as well.
That's a really poor pack.
So I don't think you're too worried about silencing Soggoth with your Song Stealer.
When I said mediocre minions, I didn't mean just outright trash, but they're going to adapt them and turn them into real minions. That's nice.
I mean, that's really nice. Getting Poisonous, Soggoth, goodbye. You've been sat in the hand for so long and you only survived one turn. Washed away by just a one attack.
Definitely. Soggoth just dies to Nausea Cleric. Nobody saw that coming all those turns ago.
Poor Soggoth. And now there's just these pesky minions that Portugal need to try and get rid of. Thankfully, they do have the Maelstrom Portal. They didn't get Wrath of Air, so it does make it ever so slightly more awkward. No patches, so they will have to trade in their Jinyu.
And now, although they have the board, and remember, if Portugal do draw, I think they've got a second Jade Spirit left. I don't think we've seen Aya yet either. Draw one of those two cards. Maybe they've got a second Spirit Echo as well. They're capable still of putting a game-winning amount of attack on the board in one turn. But we're going to see South Korea take control of this in the short term, I think.
Portugal are going to value healing up the thing from below here. There is still the option to silence the thing from below if South Korea are scared about it. But to be honest, I don't think they're particularly worried about it at the moment.
Twilight Drake a tempting option here as well.
Twilight Drake does activate Bookworm though, so you may have to play Bookworm first if you want to use it.
Which you probably do on a 3/6. Seems like a decent enough target. Just looking at this hand, it's not a good hand. It's a good enough hand. But
I don't think if there's anything left that they need the Dragon for, that they should be saving this Twilight Drake.
I like the way that Hearthstone's at. I like the way that a hand could look like you hit auto-complete, but it actually still be really powerful. It means that all of the cards are doing their thing.
Second Evolve from Portugal may be important a little bit later. When they're searching for lethal, might help them get through a taunt, for example.
I think they want an excuse to play this Jade Lightning. If they can roll spell here, then they would have been able to kill off the Stegodon. Make a 6/6 or whatever it would be now, and also attacking with a 1/1, get a lot of value. As it is, they've got to do it the old-fashioned way. But they are going to make sure the board gets cleared. They are going to get the excuse to cast this Jade Lightning. But this is their last board for a little while. If Kranich and Korea can get through this final-looking board, then Portugal are going to need that Jade Spirit or that Aya that they're looking for.
South Korea need to start kind of getting rid of some of these cards so they can play that second pack as well.
Yeah, you want to get as much out of that pack as possible, and interesting how this game has gone with them just leaving up this thing from below for so long, and it hasn't really done that much. It's done a bit, but it's been healed and it survived, but it still hasn't really had a huge impact on the game. A little bit. It's got some value.
It's been sat there, it's been a nuisance, but it's not been something that South Korea have been desperate to get rid of or silence, because they've had that silencing option for ages. Now they're finally going to play it.
I think they may have been saying that for Aya, and they've realised actually if Aya comes, we're in so much trouble anyway, we just might as well. They're doing what you said, let's just get rid of this Iron Hide now, set up our second pack.
Well, they may have silenced one thing from below, but here comes another one to join the party.
Yeah, one thing just follows another.
And it's going to be a case for South Korea of we play our Unguro pack, and we hope for a little bit better this time. The Adapt actually was huge. The Evolving Spores did really help just get rid of that Soggoth. But the second Evolve now being used for Portugal to just regain this board presence. And just as that happened, hello Mr. Dragonfire Potion. Goodbye Portugal's board.
Yep.
Welcome Unguro pack.
We will see the pack happen first, and then they'll have a more informed view on whether to leave up a 6/1 or not. I don't see why they would. But pack, Dragonfire Potion, play something that appeared out of the pack, and then you've got Drake to back all that up. Potion of Madness. But Potion of Madness not very good against 6/6s and 5/5s and stuff like that.
You just play Dragonfire Potion.
Well, yeah, but you want to play your pack first.
We play pack first, all right.
Always open your packs.
Always open the packs first. Draw first. Lesson number 1 from Bond. Neil Bond.
All right, don't then. because they're going to play this ooze that has no purpose left in the game at all.
I shouldn't be smiling, but I am.
I hate you so, so much, Gaskin.
Harrison Jones, not going to get any value here, unless there's a Medivh that pops up.
Second pack, all sorts of things could pop up.
That's actually very true, yeah.
Apart from Medivh.
Apart from Medivh, yeah.
But they could definitely get something useful.
Like a Piranha launcher.
Piranha launcher.
Say that again.
I can't. I hate you even more than usual. Meanwhile...
Yep, just going to have to play Harrison as a blank old 5-4.
Just watching these weapon-removing minions just late to the party in one case, and there wasn't even a party in the other. Now can we have the pack? I want to know what's in the pack.
Yeah, I think now you pack. Search for answers. See what you can create for your second pack. Volcanosaur is big. Swamp King Dread. Glyph. This is... Evolving Spores as well? I mean, okay. Yeah, South Korea, they're in such a commanding position now. That's a lot better of a pack than their previous one.
Yeah, and Dread's actually pretty good in this situation as well. Don't think it's good on this exact turn, as it stops all the comboing with Spirit Claws as well. So, you're going to play something to stick on the board? No, it's just going to die. Spirit Echo. Did I say Spirit Claws?
You did.
It's your fault for mentioning that card earlier.
Sorry, mate.
I'm mate now, am I? Loads of decisions for Korea, but Volcanosaur just gets something big on the board is their plan. You just stealth it?
Depends if you want to go for the Wind Fury option to just try and win, but yeah, you're right.
You've got Evolving Spores for next turn to then go for Wind Fury.
Wow, yeah. They didn't get the attack, but Divine Shield and Stealth seems pretty solid, and yeah, this is the plan that they're going for. We go face, and we look for Wind Fury next turn.
Stealth and Health option.
Ooh. There's a Volcano. Can they actually just deal with this if they trade in? Yes,
18.
they can. Can they?
If
you trade in one of them, that leaves 6, 12, 13 on the board. Yeah, so you could trade in Harrison, kill off the Ooze, and then play Volcano, and then play Thing from Below.
Yeah, and then your opponent only has 7 cards plus their top deck.
I mean, it's the immediate threat, Neil.
I mean, like,
want to save a life.
I understand that they have to do it. It's just like, you're saying as if it's exciting, and actually, they're probably...
I mean, it's somewhat exciting. They can deal with a minion that was stealth with Divine Shield.
That's fair, actually. They're just choosing to not do that, though.
No.
And that would be the point. Get the taunt totems down so that they have some sort of hope.
Yeah, why wouldn't they play the second Thing from Below with this?
Because it just dies to the 5/6 Divine Shield.
Yeah.
They're trying to present an awkward-looking board. We can see how insane that pack was, which, in fairness, makes up for the first pack, which was mainly garbage, even though they got good use out of it. Oh. How many operatives have been played this game?
So you glyph, see if you can find anything special.
Shadow Earth Death seems good.
Yeah, Shadow Earth Death helps a lot. And it's just cost 1 mana as well. 1 mana? You could actually search for lethal with the Potion of Madness if you would like.
Evolving Spores, Wind Fury would be lethal. Other things might be.
No lethal had. No attack either. So remember, whatever they give here to the Volcanosaur, they're also giving to the Taunt minion that they have just stolen. So they go for the safe option and just to give it another Taunt, you know.
Like you do.
Like you do. So this one's looking pretty much over, Neil.
It is. It's taken a while to get there, and certainly Portugal managed to exert some pressure, but the sheer amount of value from 2 Ungoro packs.
And what, like 4 operatives as well, I think have been played? Yeah, something ridiculous.
Probably 3 now. It's because they got the...
On Glimmer Route too.
Yeah.
They got the Spirit Echoes onto the Nether Spike
That's the thing,
story.
They Spirit Echoed their own stuff, which was already value-based stuff. And that has been the tale of the tape for this particular game of Hearthstone. It is only going to be 2-0.
I mean, in theory, it's not actually over yet. Volcano here, plus Jade Spirit, plus Thing from Below. That's still a pretty threatening board from Portugal.
2-0.
I'm still hopeful here for Dr. Boom. I'm an optimist, Neil. I look down every avenue of play. I think about every possibility.
Do you?
Yes. Volcano, Jade Spirit, Thing from Below. You get a 7/7 on the board, a 5/5, plus your Jade Spirit. I mean, Shadow of Death is there, yes. Swamp King Dread is there, yes.
I'm just ignoring you.
Okay.
Do you believe that Dr. Boom used to be a pro basketball player?
Did he?
I think it's just a tall story myself.
I mean, I don't even know why actually... How did you say tall story? Amazing. I mean, it's not actually Dr. Boom playing right now, is it? It's actually Ginger.
I know, but...
Okay.
We decided to rotate into Dr. Boom.
It's alright. I like that. Because, you know, we have to give Dr. Boom some love here, there, and everywhere. So, Shadow of Death, double Shadow of Death now in hand. And they can just use one, then probably play what? Swamp King Dread?
Yeah.
Shove him on board.
Kills 8/8 golems pretty well. I guess it isn't over yet. I mean, meaning that it was, but I guess Aya could maybe turn it around. If you play Dread and they play Aya, you hit them for... I don't know. It's still rather awkward. The thing is, there's no surprise kill coming here. Like, career being on 23 just means they should be able to see anything coming that's going to kill them. Spirit Echo. This is what I was saying about Dread earlier. Just go on, Spirit Echo that thing.
Yeah,
go on.
not going to happen, is it? They're going to have to play it first. So you can play it now, and then your Jade Spirit is you'll get that one back. But then you're looking at close to being dead as well. I'm trying to find ways out. Stop looking at me like that, Neil.
Like what?
You're giving me looks like, Dan, stop being so positive. Be a negative Nancy like me.
Am I negative?
You're a negative Nancy. That's what you are.
Okay. So they can kill this by Spirit Echoing their Jade, trading it in, replaying it. It just looks pretty grim, though. You lose your thing, you lose your Jade, you lose all your win conditions, but you kill the Dread. That's
you
positive.
kill the Dread, and you've got what on board? A 8/8?
Yeah. It's all right.
Shame there's a Shadow of Death, I guess.
Yeah. And they're just not even going to go that route. They're going to rely on the fact that Priest does not have any damage, but they have an Operative and a way to proc the Operative, so they could just pull out. Is there any damage left in Portugal's deck, actually? I suspect Portugal, no, there's not. We've seen both weapons. We've seen both Jade Lightnings.
Yeah, I'm not sure there's anything else
What's
there.
left? There's going to be Aya.
More Jade. More Jade
Is there more Jade?
generation.
Maybe second Chieftain?
Possibly second Chieftain.
Because it's under 6
Both
cards.
things
And it
from
has been for a while.
Belows. Maybe another Lightning Storm. I think
Yeah.
we might have seen both Maelstroms. Yeah, you're right. I don't even think there is any direct damage left, but we'll soon find out anyway. I mean, you could take the Stormcrack and hope that you can kill a minion with it, but of course we know that that's not going to be in the deck, so that's just going to disappear. Halaziel, probably not in the deck as well, so I'm likely to think this one's a Volcano.
It's a lot of damage. I have no idea, what you could do with it, but hey, there it is.
You can't do anything with it.
Manatide Totem, that's definitely not what Portugal are going to need when they get there. You've got that whole lineup. Oh, they're waiting on the Stonehill. Okay. Stonehill into Chieftain. Oh, Chieftain hasn't got Taunt. That's not how it works.
There's the Stonehill.
It's got the word Taunt on the card,
But the Stonehill does just die. So they can't get the Spirit Echo off. That's the problem. They have to play the Spirit Echo first.
Swamp King Dread's amazing. I keep telling people that Swamp King Dread is really good solution to a lot of problems.
Yeah, who'd have thought it'd be good in
Priest.
Priest?
9/9 for 7.
So today we've seen a Priest that got Sulfurous. We've now seen a Priest with Swamp King Dread. And now we see the concede from Portugal as well, as South Korea eventually go 2-0 up. Portugal tried and tested every avenue of possibility to try and get back into that game. I was behind them. I was hoping that there was a comeback. But Neil, you knew it was over when it was over.
Sometimes it is just over.
Who'd have thought with 2 Ungoro packs, they were able to just steamroll ahead?
Not you, apparently.
No, well, come on. Someone's going to be the optimist here.
Why can't I be the optimist for once?
You can. Okay, we'll try that next game.
Let's
you
do
be
that. I'm going to be
optimistic,
the optimist. Let's
and
do
I'll
this.
be negative, Neil.
Don't talk about the Murloc like that. He'll get all offended.
Sorry, mate.
You've got to be nice.
So game number 3 then, or series number. No, yeah, game number 3 of the series. Got there in the end. A really good
knew you
chance
would.
for South Korea to cement their place in stage 2.
Right, they will be 4-1. There'll be no messing around with numbers and stuff like that, all those stuff that we don't like to talk about. There'll just be 4 wins, 1 loss, through to stage 2, and there'll be pretty good value for it as well.
And Dr. Boom will actually be playing in the next game. He'll have the choice of Warrior or Priest, and Didahoney will have the choice of Rogue versus or Warrior. So Rogue or Warrior or Priest. We could possibly see the Warrior mirror, which would be nice. Nice to see a little bit of Warrior action. Oh, there we go! Warrior versus Warrior. So it's something we've not seen today, Neil.
It's not. We've seen it quite a bit in this event.
And I say mirror, we don't know it's a mirror.
It could just be any of the options. We've talked about that extensively in the past. Interesting to me, we're not seeing much Rogue today.
We've only saw one Miracle Rogue today. No Quest Rogue. It's hard. It's because this isn't the Conquest lineup that we're so used to. This isn't the here that change everything as screens just changing here and there and everywhere. But there are the players there in front of you. Those are the guys that are going to be piloting the decks. And we will see Warrior versus Warrior. Now, Warrior is in a place where it is just Quest, or it is just Pirate. It's as simple as that. We don't really venture elsewhere anymore. We've got to that point. We're happy with it as a Hearthstone collective. Or are we?
I am.
You are?
Great.
There we go. We've got the optimistic Neil coming out.
We're seeing Spellbreaker is about the only change in either deck in any time recently.
Yep.
And even that's now becoming... I think it's accepted that you have one or two in there. It's just a case of how you feel about it. And we've seen the matchup quite a lot in this event.
Do you think that either of these players have a preference for what they would prefer, Quest Warrior or Pirate Warrior? For me, I think Dr. Boom takes me as a Pirate Warrior kind of man.
Is that to do with the basketball?
How would that have anything to do with the basketball?
That's why I asked you.
Oh, no.
Don't ask the question back at me.
No.
Because you don't know.
No, and that has nothing to do with the basketball.
Okay, thank you.
I just think that Dr. Boom is one of those players that likes to get aggressive, gets in the face of his opponent. He wants to get job done quickly.
That's exactly how you play basketball.
Basketball's quite a long game, Neil.
Is it?
Yeah, it's a game of two. I was going to say it's a game of two halves, but it's not.
Season of 82 games.
It's not. It's 4 quarters, so I can't even say that. I couldn't even.
4 quarters, 82 games in a season.
That's a lot. That's a lot of basketball.
I think it's 82.
So game 3.
People will correct me if I'm wrong.
Warrior versus Warrior. Are we going to see Quest Warrior? Are we going to see Pirate Warrior? If Korea are able to get the victory here, they will be 3-0. They will win the series, and they will also qualify from their group and move on into stage 2. So here we go. Game number 3. It is going to be Pirate versus Taunt. So we're going to see whether the aggression from Portugal can get through the defense option of South Korea.
We've seen both these things happen before. Obviously, having the War Axe early on does help so much the Quest, and you can't throw the Quest away. Let's just make that clear, because they think if it's the mirror match and you throw the Quest away, you've lost.
I mean, I had the read. I thought Dr. Boom was going to bring Pirate, so maybe they've got that read.
Yeah.
But it's too much of a risk. We had this discussion last week as well.
We did.
I was like, but what if they... And you're like, no. But what if they... No. They never throw it down.
They might.
Yay, Optimist Neil! He's arrived. But he's not here to stay.
How do you know?
He's here for
That's not very optimistic of you.
For one game early. One game only.
Yeah. Well, we'll see about that. Maybe it'll be here twice.
Okay, what do you mulligan here for the side of the Pirate Warrior, then? Do you keep a Raider? Just
to make sure. Yep. We've seen too many games, especially the ones that you and I have cast, where the Warrior just can get these awful draws, and just keeping that 1-2 to make sure that doesn't happen. And the Quest, incredibly, was kept against all the odds.
It was, and South Korea won't actually know that this is Pirate Warrior just yet. No, they will.
I have a good idea now, though.
And actually a little bit of laughter coming out from South Korea. They're saying, lol. I'll happily put some taunts in the way of these pirates. And we've had 2 instances over the past week, Neil, of Pirate Warrior versus Taunt Warrior, and we've seen it go one of 2 ways, funnily enough. The Pirate Warrior did manage to smash through all the taunts and absolutely obliterate their opposition. And on the other side, we saw the position where the Pirate Warrior just wasn't drawing enough threats, and the taunts got out of hand.
Yeah, I think it is pretty close to 50-50. I do favour the taunt slightly, which is another reason why you can't just, like, recklessly throw away the Quest, because you're in an okay spot even if you do keep it. But like you say, we've seen it one way each, and that's how it should be. Usually reliant on what sort of start the Pirates get, and that's another reason to keep that Bloodsail Raider at the start.
So Armor Smith is something that's recently... I say recently, but
It feels recent.
It feels
3 weeks.
Yeah, it feels recent in comparison to when Ungura was first released and we were first looking at Quest Warrior. I mean, Armor Smith is there for these matchups in particular, and actually a turn 2 play when you're looking at 1/1s on the board, it's not so bad.
No, I mean, it's just looking absolutely brilliant, in fact, at the moment, especially with the backup of the War Axe. South Korea don't have much going forward, 2 or 3 turns after this, but the great thing when you get these early minions on the early turns is that in the later turns you tend to draw into the stuff you need. That's kind of how maths works.
And they're saying you can make the trade. We're not actually going to make this trade for you. I mean, the likelihood is they will be making the trade. So that's a mistake that I see a lot of people make, to be honest, in general.
Right.
Is when you're playing the aggro, you know how important that Armor Smith is, so you get rid of it, even though realistically, they're gonna have to get rid of it themselves anyway, and that's an extra 1 damage you can get to the face.
Yeah, there's no healing, and what are even? Yeah, the 4-mana taunt is just a blood hook, basically.
Yeah, there's a possibility that it can be hidden behind the taunt. That's your only fear, but Portugal are making a read here, saying, "Well, we don't think you've got one."
And every point of damage is so crucial in these aggro versus control matches. I've said before, pretty much anybody can do 25 or 26 damage, so you've only got to find an extra 3 or 4 that the bad players can't find, and you're suddenly a good player.
Yeah, making that decision when to go face, when to trade is, of course, very important. We have that discussion weekly. And South Korea in a relatively good spot. Picking up the Armor Smith is pretty big for them.
Yeah, assuming that their hand projects forward how they're expecting it to, and they pick up reasonable draws, you would fancy them to win from this position, just because that Ali Armor Smith is so hard to deal with. Not only does it suck up that 7 damage, but in this case, it may only gain 2 armor, but it might gain 4, even 6 in some situations.
I think what's important is that Acolyte is also probably going to take quite a bit of chunk of damage as well. It depends how worried Portugal are about card draw. They may just kill this off with their face, which they do. So there we go. That's 4 more damage that South Korea aren't taking. But now we have the next turn for South Korea here. They may be forced to Dirty Rat, and that's a Harrison Jones. That actually might help out a lot as well.
Do we need to Dirty Rat or not? Harrison Jones, a big pickup, as you say. Not so much for now. This weapon's kind of done its thing. But in terms of saving 5 damage later from an Arcanite Reaper, even the card draw's not that important. It's just literally 5 mana, gain 5 armor, and protect your board. And that's a way to stabilize.
Let's pretend we couldn't see the other hand then.
He says covering up the other hand, for those who can't
Just in
see.
case Neil's memory has gone and he can't remember what minions.
Don't even know what we're talking about. Yep.
What threat are you worried about when playing Dirty Rat?
Playing Dirty Rat, I mean, Leroy?
Yeah, Leroy would be a bit of a worry as well.
Just anything that costs 4 or more. So Corcoran Elite even is annoying enough. But yeah, it's just enough things. Your 6 health just gets killed too often by anything with 3 or more. Frothing Berserker, another nightmare.
Oh, that's a big nightmare here. Frothing Berserker is something you'd be somewhat concerned of. However, they need something else from the hand to be able to deal with the taunt.
Tell you what is a good card they could have caught with a Dirty Rat, and that's that Spellbreaker that wasn't there. Because Ali Armor Smith is not going to do a whole lot against this.
No, at the moment, Portugal doing very well to plop a lot of damage into South Korea. And Harrison Jones may be able to get some value here, because it looks like Portugal are considering not hitting.
That's what I said.
You made a really similar noise to Magni.
Yeah, that was planned.
Yeah.
So, if they use up their weapon, they'll be scared that they draw a Cultist, which would obviously buff the weapon. If they don't use their weapon, they'll be scared they draw their Arcanite Reaper, which they'd just be using. They're not going to play around Harrison. They're just going to try and work out how the best way to maximise the damage. They've got to count their outs and play accordingly, and they've decided that they think they've got a good chance of buffing that weapon at least next turn.
But they're about to be proved otherwise, as Harrison will get that value. Harrison's something that actually, I mean, we've not seen too much of as of late. It kind of crops up every year around about this kind of time of the year where weapons become a thing. But I mean, even against Pirate Warrior, it's not been something that everyone started to include, because even when you get rid of one weapon, they seem to just have another.
Yeah, and for the longest time as well, people were taking Ooze in a lot of decks as the weapon destroyer, just because it's a little bit cheaper. But Harrison does the job so well in a deck that's a little bit slower, where you can actually use those extra cards that you draw. But like you say, metas cycle. We have crabs going in and out of decks at the moment. People stop playing Murlocs and the crabs go, oh, what's the point? So people plop something with the crabs and then the Murlocs come back. And you have all these other cycles like Black Knight we saw sneaking in and out of decks for a while. It's gone missing again for the short term.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, Spellbreaker seems to be a replacement of Black Knight, because Black Knight was in... I saw Black Knight in Pirate Warrior for a while.
Right.
Because they were just so fed up of playing this matchup.
Right.
To be fair.
And now the Spellbreaker is just a little bit better because it actually puts down a 4-3 body, a little bit quicker. And there's plenty of stuff to get rid of on turns 4 and 5 for the Spellbreaker.
Oh, so Portugal playing the game of we're just going to do damage here and now. Interesting they decided to use that Mortal Strike rather than a Heroic Strike. A Mortal Strike that could have been a little bit more damage later on.
Interesting how quickly Korea played this Ali Armor Smith. I say that because this is one turn where they're not using their armor up now. They could have played maybe the Stonehill Defender and gained an extra 2 by armoring up.
Oh, that's a Leroy Jenkins. So Spellbreaker into Heroic Strike. Go face. Then next turn, you have 10 damage just from hand. And there's already a 4-3 on the board. Might be a Dirty Rat turn, to be honest. Because you're probably Stonehill Defender first. Because you want to see what you can find. Actually, that suits the mana curve very nicely, but it does look like they're going to go for... If they go for Dirty Rat, I mean, this is huge, because they can just take out Leroy Jenkins.
Right.
Right here, right now.
And they are definitely smelling a rat as well, apart from the Dirty Rat, because of the way the last turn went down.
That laugh, South Korea just laughing, is just... It was evil.
Dione having a bit of a giggle about situation. And now how do Portugal get out of this? 1 moment ago, it looked like they're going to win next turn. Now it looks like they're just never going to win. Yeah,
this is the point of, can South Korea stabilize here? Dread Corsair is not going to be of much help. And we are just going to see taunt after taunt played. South Korea won't even be too worried about their life total in this situation either. I mean, playing the Warden plus Bloodhoof seems a lot better than getting that 2 armor.
Yeah, the number's important when they're on 9. As soon as they get to 13, it's all over. But they can't take... They've already taken 1 Mortal Strike to face anyway. So 6 is the magic number, even if they put Dr. Boom to 12 or fewer. And it looks like South Korea are going to take this 3-0. And my notes say that if Portugal lose 3-0, they are definitely out of the tournament.
Wow. That would be a huge loss.
Yeah, one of the teams that I fancied... I mean, I fancy quite a few teams to do well. Oddly enough, when there's a lot of great teams, you fancy quite a few to do well. But Portugal, one of the teams that have surprised me by how unwell they've done. What's the word for that? Badly?
Yeah.
They haven't done badly, though.
Poorly?
Yeah, poorly. And yeah, Dr. Boom gives it up. Dione takes it down, and that puts Korea through, and Portugal definitely out because of the way the other fixtures work out.
A sublime 3-0 victory. Thumbs up as well. South Korea 4-1 in the league. Portugal down to 1-3, and as Neil said, it looks like they will be down and out as well. But a fantastic performance from South Korea. They'll be very happy. They most likely top their group as well.
Yep. So
that will look like they're in good nick for stage 2. And really, I couldn't argue with how they played today.
No, they played well as far as I could see at least, and they played well all through apart from the 1 match they lost. They are guaranteed to win the group. I think we'll see that in a moment. And they're Ravens' pick.
Now I'm just annoyed that they won.
Can I stop being optimistic?
Yeah, you
Thank you. Damn it, they're Ravens' pick.
I mean, the fact they were able to get a 3-0 victory without Handsome Guy even having to come in and play. I mean, Handsome Guy, arguably the best player on this team just from his achievements.
Right.
But there is equally just as big achievements from the rest of the guys as well. Just an overall very strong team. And actually, I wouldn't be surprised if they are a team that we are going to see go very far in the global games.
Yeah, I think they're a team to watch out for sure. I mean, they're in it, so you've got to watch out for them. But in stage 2, I can see these easily getting to top 16 and getting a good seeding. I feel like these might be one of the teams we see on finals day.
You think they're going to get to the Final Four?
I think they might well do. I mean, why wouldn't they? 3 of them into the World Championships. And 1 nearly.
1 nearly.
Blurry. Unlucky, mate.
Yeah, he'd like to get to some sort of a final, I think, just to join the rest of his team. But they're definitely looking like one of the others, one of the teams to get there. I mean, what others do you think are going to be there then, whilst we're on this topic?
Still difficult to pick them all, but there's Ukraine, Russia.
Canada.
Yeah, Canada, but Canada lost to Malaysia.
All right, anyway, we have an interview. Let's have a little chat with one of the guys from South Korea if he is on the line. Kranich, can you hear me?
Hey, man.
Hey, dude. Congratulations, that was a pretty emphatic victory, a nice 3-0, and it will secure you guys moving into Phase 2. I'm just wondering, how do you decide your playing order? Because obviously Handsome Guy was there as your 4th and 5th and didn't play today. Is that something you all collectively decide together?
Well, we know that we have 5 matches in our group, and one thing is that we thought like we can take at least one time to be an ace player.
Mm-hmm.
So Handsome Guy was the one who didn't play at ace position, so this time he said that he will take it.
Oh, nice. So everyone rotating around so that everyone gets a fair share of games. I like that.
Your team is very experienced. How do you rate your chances of winning the entire event?
I mean, this time the only Phase 1 has finished, so I'm not really sure about our chances, but I think it's pretty high, and probably we need to play against other like teams like probably USA or Russia, which is regarded as really strong team. But I still think that we have chance.
Yes, you have to size yourselves up before you can really decide how you're going to achieve anything in the Global Games. That's great to think. Your team in general, the whole dynamic, are you guys quite close? Did you know each other before the Global Games? Have you played a lot against each other? Like, is there a nice, genuine friendship between you four?
I mean, like Korean Hearthstone scene is not that huge, so I just know all the players who really plays competitively in Korea. So also all of those players are like really good, and I met them for like other qualifiers or tournaments or whatever. So yeah, we are kind of friendly.
It's always nice when a community is like that. But congratulations again. Best of luck in Stage 2, because now you have guaranteed to qualify. So I guess you can go out and celebrate now. Have a lovely time, and we'll see you when Stage 2 happens.
Thanks.
Thanks, dude. He seems happy.
He does seem happy.
It's nice, isn't it? I love that the whole community bond when bond. I love the whole community effect when you do have these like smaller, tighter groups of Hearthstone players, and they all know each other, they practice with each other, and they all become good friends as well.
Yeah, it seems to be happening in most of these countries. We saw it earlier, even from Slovakia, like, even the teams that are struggling along, they're still... Oh, sorry, yeah. Just struggling along, they're still making community bonds, as you say, so amusingly, and getting to know each other, which is part of what this game is all about.
A shame for Portugal, though. I know that, especially on social media, Ginger has been very passionate about the global games, but as you said, they're not in the best of positions now, which is a shame for him, because he's been so happy tweeting about global games and saying that he's really excited to play each week. Of course, they do still have one more game to play, so they want to go out with a bang, that's for sure.
Yeah, Ginger, one of the big characters, especially around Twitch. He's probably in with you guys right now, in fact. One of the guys who makes the place just a happier place to be in general, even if it is sometimes a little bit in your face.
It's because of people like you, Neil, because you're a negative Nancy. We'll see how those results affected the groups shortly. As we have said, South Korea have now won that group guaranteed, so they're going to be feeling very happy about themselves. For Portugal, however, they are rock bottom, 1-3 and 6-11, and if Neil has done his calculations correct, it is all but impossible for them to qualify. I'll allow you to make that decision of whether that is true, Neil.
That is true.
But yeah, I
put
think
a lot
I'm with
of time
you.
into that. Look at those game records. Basically, no matter how the fixtures run out, somebody will end up with a better game record than 6-11, even on the same score, if Portugal, even if they win the next one. No, they can't win it. You know what I mean?
But they can win the next one.
So they win by 3, then they'll be on -2, but other teams will be better than -2.
It's unfortunate for Portugal, however, they do still have one more game to play, which they will be excited to play because Ginger is going to want to go out with a bang. But that's the 4th series finished, and we have one more left for you guys at home. Poland versus Turkey is our final series of the day, so don't go anywhere. We'll be back very shortly.
We're almost there. Quiet down, everyone. This is not like any of our previous expeditions. This will be far more ambitious. We're stepping into a land of primordial wonder. Infused with astonishing elemental energies. The plant life here holds very unusual properties. So don't touch anything. And while you may be excited to see the local fauna, you might want to make sure they don't see you. Because their powers of adaptation are devastating. Make no mistake, we will be tested at every turn. But if we stay on our guard, we might just survive. Now then, are you ready? Then let's journey into Ongoro Crater.